for now. And video eventually. That Zoom took you to that meeting. What they have to do, I don't know.
I think you're right.
Jenna Lee had her phone. But now, that's not gonna help. I can look at it. Have any trouble opening the links above or any questions, please feel free to contact the office. That's the telephone number. She left her or email at zoning@jeffersoncounty, west Virginia.gov.
Who's that? That Jen Lee?
Yes, that's
What's the number? 304-728?
3228. Yeah. That's the office number. She may not have her phone. I'm gonna go back.
Well, first of all, I don't hear any noise, any audio.
Okay, now try.
Okay.
Or how about this? Is that
That's you.
Do you want to talk?
over here?
Are you ready as far as the recording?
Yeah.
Good to go.
I can hear you, Matt. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I sure can.
I
Okay.
gotta get my-
2:01, we do have a quorum present. I'll entertain a motion to begin the April 9th, 2026 session of the Board of Zoning Appeals. So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you guys for being here today. As a matter of protocol, we're going to follow our agenda. We're first going to address our minutes, and then we'll begin with our agenda items. Our agenda items may or may not be in the order in which they're listed on the agenda, and in particular for today, we're going to work backwards. We're going to start with agenda item number 3, as long as the applicant's here, 2, and then 1. The way that this works is we will first get a staff report to give us an overview of the request. Then we will hear from the applicant, at which point we will open the public hearing. We want to hear your concerns, but try to keep your public comments to around 3 minutes if you can. I did have the opportunity to read several of the written comments that were sent in. If it would be more beneficial to you guys to have one person make a presentation on behalf of everybody, consider that, and we can do that if that's what you prefer. After your public comment, or after the public hearing is closed, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut any of the differences that were presented. And in which case we will have a discussion, and we may or may not enter in what's called a deliberative session. If we do go into a deliberative session, we will be leaving the room and going to another room. And then we'll let you guys know when we come back into open session. All right. Did you guys have a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes,
Any problems, corrections?
page 3, line 24. Mr. Wiegand moved to adjourn the meeting to 2:47 PM. Mr. Quinn called for a vote, which carried unanimously. Why did Mr. Quinn call for a vote?
That was you.
So noted.
Should be McKinney.
The only other thing that I noticed is I believe I called the meeting to order. But other than that, I didn't see anything.
I saw one other typo. On page 1, line 18, when we corrected the previous minutes, where it says which carried 4 in support, it was 3 in support and 2 in opposition. There's not 6 people here, so that's just a typo. You could correct that.
Any other corrections or?
Motion to approve the February 26th, 2026 Board of Zoning Appeals minutes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, our first order of business will be, well, actually, I'm sorry, can you swear in anyone that chooses to speak?
Okay, for those who will be giving testimony today, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today is true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Thank you.
Okay. First item is agenda item number 3. It's file number 26-7-ZV. This was postponed from March 26, 2026. It's a variance request from section 8.17B.1 to reduce the minimum required acreage to operate a campground from 10 acres to 1.92 acres for the purpose of establishing a campground comprised of 4 campsites. The applicant is River and Trail Outfitters, John Ganano. The parcel is owned by Pamela Wagner and Shannon Lepsick. It's at 199 Bloomery Road in Charlestown. The parcel ID is noted in the agenda. It's just under 2 acres in the rural zoning district. Do we have an applicant with us? Welcome back, Mr. Rocco. If you guys want to introduce yourself, and then we'll get to staff report.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm Paul Rocco, and I'm a local land use consultant. And to my right is John Ganano, who is the applicant, and I think Ms. Wagner is president.
Can you turn your mic on? It's the back button.
It is on. We're working on the sound.
Ah,
Can you hear mine?
hear you fine.
Let's switch. Testing.
Yeah, there we go. Technical difficulties. Thank you, guys.
I didn't break it this time. Again, thank you, Mr. Chair, board members. Paul Rocco, I'm a local land use consultant, and to my right is John Ganano, the applicant, and I believe Ms. Wagner is also here as the property owner.
Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So the subject parcel was created and designated as the Pittman Tract in October of 1957. The lot is 1.92 acres. and bordered by residential lots on three sides and Bloomery Road and the Shenandoah River on the other. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 8.17B.1 to reduce the required acreage for a four-site campground from 10 acres to 1.92 acres. The purpose of the minimum acreage requirement is typically to ensure that adequate buffering between uses can be provided and that sufficient space exists to accommodate infrastructure and amenities related to the land use. As part of the design standards for campgrounds, the ordinance requires minimum setback of 50 feet from existing property lines and a 10-foot vegetative buffer. Pursuant to Appendix C of the zoning ordinance, a campground is a principal permitted use in the rural zoning district. Section 8.17 of the zoning ordinance states that campground facilities provide tourism-related accommodations for visitors to Jefferson County. The campground provisions include design guidelines that protect adjacent property owners while allowing the property owner to develop their land. I also wanted to note that in 2016, when the campground regulations were being drafted, both the Planning Commission and the County Commission intended to include a provision stating that a variance to the minimum acreage requirement for a campground could be granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals. The provision was removed at staff's recommendation due to the fact that any standard in zoning ordinance may be modified by the Board of Zoning Appeals via the variance process.
Thank you, sir. Okay, it's your turn.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a relatively newer standard that was just written in 2016 in the county to address campgrounds because of primarily the 2015 comprehensive plan that called for more tourism and tourism-based uses in the county. There was a Citizens Advisory Committee to the Planning Commission for the Campground Committee. The committee themselves recommended specifically, besides these standards, as Andy pointed out, a specific variance procedure in the ordinance because on the size, particularly just for the size, because they just established a size that they thought was okay for what would be allowed to be 15 units per acre. That's the maximum number of campground units per acre is 15 units. So a site of 10 would have, of course, 150 units on there, along with the other amenities, including things like amphitheaters and office buildings, pools, and other amenities. During the adoption of this, and I participated in all of the meetings. I wasn't on the committee, but I was a consultant to a member of the committee. During all these meetings, it was always specially set up that a variance was anticipated for anything below 10, provided that you could come into the zoning board and explain how you could meet the standards, as Andy pointed out, of the setbacks, buffers, and other provisions. In this case, property is 1.92 acres. So if you were looking at the standpoint of comparing it to 15 units per acre, you could get probably 28 units on this site, along again with other amenities to campgrounds such as the office and recreational areas. In this case, there's only 4 proposed. So it's proposed on the road that was built to serve, coincidentally or ironically, 10 mobile homes that were located on this site for years and years. I went back just before zoning to the deeds, and in 1987, the deed transferring, and it's been in this family for approximately 7 decades. Okay, so when it was being transferred down from generation to generation, they would either do it by estate or transfer. In 87, I found the deed that described this as parcel 1, all that certain lot or parcel of land with improvements thereon presently being used for a mobile home or trailer park. So there's evidence before zoning that it was the trailer park that was there. And the owner says there was 10. There was 5 on each side of the road that was built in between. I went after zoning to find out if that was still there, and when it conveyed down to the current owner in 2004 from their relatives, generation above, the same language was in there, all the certain parcel of land, including presently being used as the mobile home or trailer park. So there's evidence of at least up to 2004 that this site was used for 10 units, but in this case, 10 full-size mobile homes. There's no mobile homes there now because generally, if you have to replace a mobile home and it's in the floodplain, you're not able to replace them. RVs have different rules. You can put RVs in the floodplain, provided they're regulated, and we've already gone through the floodplain ordinance, so we can cite these. So this lot, and noting that the ordinance was anticipating to vary the provision of size, provided you could meet the zoning standards, we went to the Planning Commission to get their approvals first. They granted the approvals contingent on we meeting the zoning standards of the 50-foot setback and any property with private property located within 1,000 feet of the campgrounds would have to have a specific barrier between the properties, which we will do. It requires a 10-foot vegetative buffer or fence. We plan on doing that. And we don't plan on having a office or any of those extra building facilities on this site. Mr. Ganano is the owner of River and Trail Outfitters. So he's a local businessman that has been in the county for, again, multiple decades, offering river services. And he has a site right up the street on Millville Road where he puts in his rafters. So he primarily believes that this will be used for, a client that may be coming up from the city that can't have or doesn't have a rental or a place to stay. So he has these 4 units that will be set up. So he's local. He will be there if there's a complaint. If someone calls the staff, they'll call Mr. Ganano. But this also provides for regulating campgrounds. As you know, on the Bloomery Road and Millville Road and across the street in Hobo Flats, these RVs and campsites there's a lot of them in the summer especially. And some of these units aren't even hooked up to septics. This assures that will happen because we need health department approval if you go through the regulatory process. So we're only attempting to put the 4 units as opposed to any more. We plan on having all the zoning buffers, setbacks, and meet any of those standards and hook up these to a new septic system that Mr. Ganano is going to get approved. The health department initially thought that the septic could handle 4 to 8 units, but he chose at this time to do 4. If he ever wanted to do more, he would come back for the same variance. So it'll be limited to 4, and we would hope that the commission or the board would grant the waiver or variance of size, and with the idea that it was supposed to be a little bit of variation to the size as these things popped up. So we would hope that you would grant that variance.
Yeah, I would just like to add that as Mr. Rocco pointed out, we've been in business in this area. River and Trail has since 1972. We've been a strong member of the community, and we think that this will enhance the Bloomery Road area with doing exactly what is happening on that roadside anyway. Obviously, there's an interest and demand for that, and we're going to be following all the setbacks, exclusions, everything that we need to do. We're going to be putting people on a septic so that there's not issues with sewer issues, going into the river. So the river is our core business, so we don't want to do anything to harm that.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
No, we've had variances like this come before us several times. The fact that you're allowed 15 campsites on 1 acre, you have almost 2 acres here and are only looking for 4 campsites. It's along the river. It's very common down there. Precedent is we've allowed this in the past, so.
Awesome. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
When you say campsites, you mean RV hookups, right?
In this case, we primarily believe they will be RVs. Yes, sir.
So if you were to expand with a bathhouse and maybe tent camping, that type of thing, and increase the numbers, you'd be back in front of this board?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Quinn, any questions for the applicant?
No, sir, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Seems reasonable request.
I do have a question for you, sir. How likely is it that you will come back later seeking 8 campsites instead of 4?
Well, there would be, that would depend on, number one, the final approval with the health department, and what they allow, and the system that's built. So it can't be anything more than the health department would allow. And, you know, I can't think of, you know, we have to see first what's the demand, and, you know, and feel it out. We're a pretty conservative business. So we, you know, we progress, we'll see what there's there. And if there is a possibility, we could, you know, raise that number. But again, the health department would play a large role in that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
On that line, I'm just trying to avoid coming back for something that every other agency allows you to do it.
Mhm.
This is a question for you guys, up to 8 instead of saying 4?
Certainly.
Pending approval from other agencies, because it sounds like it's a health department issue, not us.
Yeah.
Right.
That would probably be up to staff and legal if you could do that.
Yeah, Jay Lee just reminded me too that the legal ad for this meeting stated 4.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right, I was just checking. That's why we have you guys.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak to, or speak for or against this variance request? First, I would have Pam Wagner, if she's speaking to this. If you are, just move to the podium over there and deliver your comments.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your opportunity. I'm Pam Wagner, and I'm the landowner with my sister Shannon Lepsick. She lives in North Carolina, is unable to be here today. I will say that we did not take selling this property lightly. I grew up on this property, and it is true that there were 10 trailers there. My father had a mini trailer court. There was a lane going up the middle, 5 on one side and 5 on the other. I truly believe that by coming down to 4, but now possibly you might agree to 8, if that would be the case with the septic, that this would be an upgrade to the Bloomery Road, because they are going to be using septic and not having extension cords running from homes to trailers to campers to tents and all kinds of things. So I appreciate this. I do think that it will help with tourism in Jefferson County. The river has always been dear to our hearts. And by seeing Mr. Ganano's references and what he has done already with his investment on that road, that it would be to the advantage of Jefferson County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Brandon Miller, please.
My name is Brandon Miller. I'm speaking for River and Trail and for the campground. I've been an employee for River and Trail for 10 years. I know our commitment to the community and the river and everything. So like as we're doing cleanups, we usually do a bi-monthly cleanup around the Millville area. That was one of our properties that was brought up. So we do bi-monthly like roadside cleanups and quarterly river cleanups. We also have Shepherd University come in to do a lot of cleanups around the area as well as, like on the river and on the road. We would be doing the same thing in that area too, trying to keep it up, make it look nicer, and have that as our home. That's about it.
You're the green tube guys?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Spend a lot of time on the river.
Thank you. Yeah, we're the guys, we just did a cleanup recently for like, we have our areas in Brunswick. We pulled 200 tires out of the river and disposed of them. We're very big on leaving the community like better than we found it. That'll be our plan there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Corey Thompson, please.
Hi, thank you for your time. My name's Corey Thompson. I live just a few minutes down the road from this Bloomery property. And I love getting out on the river, and I think in addition of campsites would absolutely benefit the county. Malden Park's a place that I spend a lot of time looking at their site plan for expansion. They indicate a demand for camping in our area, and I agree. I think it would go to great use. River and Trail as a company seems like they have a huge focus on professionalism and keeping the river clean, the area clean. I think it would be a great addition to the area. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Great. Applicants, you guys have anything to add to that?
We do not. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Board members?
No, I guess nobody's opposed to it. There's a rule.
There was public comment in support, so we can't do unanimous consent.
Okay.
Although it is unfortunate that legal counsel's not here with us today. I am of the variance request was properly posted, correct? And, if that was the pleasure of the board, if we found a reason that we could have limited it to 2, we could have done that without changing the posting.
You can't go up, apparently.
Well, apparently,
I hear it.
can we go up? It clearly states pursuant to Appendix B, Division 8 of the subdivision regulations, no more than 15 campsites per acre are permitted. We're talking about 2 acres with 8.
What I think we could do is vote that it could be an administrative approval. Put it in the zoning director's hands, since it's been discussed publicly.
I suppose, yes, if you, if that's the route you want to go.
Pending legal approval.
Yes.
If legal says no, then no. But we'll float it out there. I just hate to see all the time and trouble and effort to come back if we know 8 is still less than even close to what would be allowed.
Yeah, I would just
Mr.
suggest
Chair,
making the motion to approve
sir.
the 4.
Mr. Chair, if you're going to do that, I would like us to go into deliberative session, even though council isn't here for a minute before we do that. If you could do that and put me on the phone.
Okay. Sounds like we have a motion to go into deliberative session. Do we have a
Want to
second?
approve 4 and just up to you.
What's your thoughts, Mr. Sumner?
I'm with David. I think if we can avoid a future obstacle for these people to deal with, we should try and do that now. Just makes the whole process less cumbersome.
I'm there too, so We have a member that wants to go into deliberative session.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No.
I agree.
Going to deliberative session?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. We will be going into a deliberative session. We will be joining you guys hopefully shortly. Thank you.
We're going to run across the hall. You guys can stay here. Different than the old way.
Thank you.
Put your phone volume up, the ring around.
Dave Weekend, BZA.
Good afternoon, folks. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, hey, I'm good. The only thing I wanted to say is I didn't want to say it in public, but I think there's tons of case law that states that you can't go up or increase a request, especially if it's not advertised, but you can go down.
Okay.
And
There is case law to suggest that,
and the other thing is I wouldn't oppose
Motion to resume the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting
All those
for
in
April
favor?
9th.
Aye.
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 Well, so you've heard. It looks like one of our members had a little more knowledge on this and says there might be case law where we can't increase it. So that's fine.
Okay, is there anything anybody would like to add to the item request? Any more discussion?
No.
I'm good.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve agenda item number 3, a variance from section 8.17B.1 to reduce the minimum required acreage to operate a campground from 10 acres to 1.92 acres for the purpose of establishing a campground comprised of 4 campsites. The applicant is River and Trail Outfitter, Inc. Attention John Ganano. It's owned by Pamela Wagner and Sharon Lepsick. It's at 199 Bloomery Road in Charlestown. Parcel ID is noted in the agenda, just under 2 acres in a rural zoning district, with the applicant bound by their testimony.
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
No, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item up is going to be agenda item number 2. It's file number 26-2-CUP. This item was also postponed from March 26, 2026. It's a request for conditional use permit to establish a home-based federal firearms business that intends on leasing or selling firearms and provides custom gunsmithing services. The use will be conducted from an existing dwelling unit on an appointment basis. The applicant anticipates no more than 5 customer delivery trips per month. No signs are proposed. The proposed land use designation is classified Appendix C. It's custom manufacturing and retail sales and service general as defined in Article 2. The applicant is Suttles, Inc. The parcel is owned by Gregory Suttles. It's at 786 Best Road in Harper's Ferry. Parcel ID is noted in the agenda. The project size is less than 1 acre. The parcel is just over 2 acres in the rural zoning district. Do we have the applicant?
Gregory Suttles here.
Thank
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members.
Yes, so again, this request is to establish a federal firearms business to include firearms leasing, custom gunsmithing, and occasional firearm license transfers. Land use will be conducted from inside the existing dwelling, which is situated on 2.04 acres. And the applicant anticipates no more than 5 customers slash delivery per month. The 2 land use designations subject to this request are listed in Appendix C and are defined in Article 2 as retail sales, service general, and custom manufacturing. The applicant will be limited to the land uses specifically outlined within the conditional use permit application and the testimony provided during the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All righty, sir, it's your turn.
Great. Good morning again, Gregory Suttles here, owner operator of Suttles LLC and property owner at 786 Best Road. Here today to apply for a conditional use permit to establish a federal firearms license business at my place of residence. Context behind this, there's some limited language on the application process that doesn't include context for leasing in particular, hence the retail sales and services portion of this. And further context behind that, I'm a full-time employee at Armaments Research Company, Northern Virginia-based defense tech startup. We do work with DOW, Air Force, Marines, Army, and much more beyond that. This includes making AI-enabled weapon sensors. We do lots of testing with firearms in Northern Virginia as well as in West Virginia. I've been an employee there for about 18 months. A lot of our work includes working with firearms and FFLs in particular. I was asked to establish an FFL to conduct business with this directly. So the purposes here is not to really add any primary income with this as much as it is to facilitate firearms transfers for the purposes of testing, for the purposes of product development. And all that testing will be conducted in private areas completely separate of this. So what's included in that is dealing directly with an FFL. When we get firearms directly from external manufacturers such as Sig Sauer, so on and so forth, they'll need an FFL to primarily deal with those transactions. So in the case here, the residence is just established as a place to conduct those transactions and transfers, and furthermore, to provide leasing to this company that I'm a primary employee of. With that, they'll conduct testing, roughly every week. It happens pretty routinely. The business model here is really just a setup to allow them to lease and operate independently every 30 days plus. So in this, there's no actual retail store, no walk-in customers, by appointment only. And that'll be very limited in scope based on what my employer currently has in their inventory. There's no intent to grow this beyond anything other than supporting my current employer. But being an FFL does provide the flexibility to do additional transfers. And in that, there's no income really planned to be obtained by that. The main purpose here is leasing to my current employer.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant?
We've seen a lot of these as well. Looks like you're far away from a lot of your neighbors. And this is the chicken and the egg thing, because you have applied for your FFL and you can't get it until this gets approved.
That's precisely it. Yeah. So the ATF requires that you get your permission from the county before you proceed. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I had.
No questions.
Are you operating a range on your property?
No, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn, you have any questions for the applicant?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. I don't have anybody on the sign-up sheet, but does anybody want to speak for this or against this? Okay. Anything that you would like to add, sir?
No, sir. That's it for me.
Okay. Well, discussion on the proposed use here.
There's precedent. We've allowed these in subdivisions. They're smaller. He's well away from everybody. Anybody I know with an FFL or around firearms is more safe than anybody else. They know firearms inside and out and are overly cautious. So I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, as brass tacks on it, in my opinion, the proposed use is compatible with the goals of the adopted comprehensive plan. Small businesses and especially cottage industries are encouraged within the rural zoning district. The proposed use is compatible intensity and scale with the existing and potential land uses with the adjoining and confronting properties. I haven't seen anything to demonstrate there will be anything that will pose a threat to the public health, safety, or welfare. The site's already developed, so the proposed site development shall be such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings. Your house has already been built, is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, so the neighborhood character and surrounding property values. I don't think that he's going to require any other landscaping buffer requirements. It's an existing home. The commercial use. Well, I mean, it's still
no noise.
It's still a residential use with a commercial enterprise. It's in conformance with 8.9 of the ordinance.
But there's no noise, odor, smoke, vibration, glare, heat, toxic matter, fire hazards, anything like that.
No signs proposed.
No signs proposed.
No sign.
No signs proposed, not unless.
Roadways adequate. I got one question. If it could get some verification. That the property was posted.
Signs were posted. That's correct.
Yes.
Property was posted.
It's not a historic structure.
No.
And there was no one from the Historical Landmarks Commission. I didn't see any correspondence in the packet, and there's no one here today to say anything about it, which that's further down the line, but that is a criteria, so thank you for bringing that up.
Well, staff says it is not a category or 1 or 2 historic site, so they looked it up.
And there's I guess within a route to Best Road would be going down Bakerton Road, going through the tunnel that is identified in the highway road classification map as a highway problem area. However, there are other routes around there. You can go Engle Moeller. I mean, I guess you could even go down Carter Avenue to get on Bakerton Road. He's saying maybe 5 trips a month. You know, it's going to be a fairly minimal impact. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think that he meets the criteria that we're looking for with conditional use permits. Is there anything else that anybody else would like to add?
No.
No. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve agenda item number 2, a request for a conditional use permit to establish a home-based federal firearms business that intends on leasing or selling firearms and provides custom gunsmithing services? The use will be conducted from the existing dwelling unit on an appointment basis. The applicant anticipates no more than 5 delivery trips per month with no signs proposed. It's Suttles LLC, with Greg Suttles being the property owner at 786 Best Road in Harper's Ferry. The project size is less than an acre on the parcel of just over 2 acres in the rural zoning district, with the stipulation that the applicant is bound by his testimony.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Your conditional use permit is granted, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. And now before us, we have agenda item number 1, which if it's all right with staff, we will address both differently, but you can offer the staff report the same for request number 1 and number 2, if that's okay with you. What we have in front of us is file number 26-1-CUP and 26-6-ZV. It's a request for a conditional use permit to establish a self-storage business that includes U-Haul, camper, boat rentals on 8 acres of a 116.2 acre parcel. The land will include the use of construction of an office, multiple self-storage units, and a parking area for storage of recreational vehicles, campers, and boats. The applicant anticipates operation 7 days a week. The site will also include an outdoor wash and dumping area and security fencing and cameras. The proposed land use designation as listed in Appendix C is storage, commercial, and mobile home, boat, and trailer sales. Signage shall conform with Article 10 of the zoning ordinance. And then the variance requested is from Section 4.11 in Appendix B to allow a modified landscape buffer that includes existing vegetation in lieu of the landscape buffer along the western property line, and to allow a 10-foot wide unscreened buffer in lieu of the 75-foot distance requirement and the planted landscape buffer along proposed eastern and southern property line. The applicant is Elliott Clutter of Cedar Hill Storage. The parcel is Pine Run Ranch LLC is the property owner. It's at 500 Fabray Road in Carneysville. The project size is 8 acres on a 116.2 acre parcel. It's in the rural zoning district. May we have the applicant, please?
Good afternoon.
Mr. Clutter, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good. Ready when you are.
Okay. So yes, again, this is a request for a conditional use permit to establish a self-storage business that includes U-Haul, camper, boat rentals on an 8 acres parcel of the 116.02 acre parcel. The land use will include the construction of an office, multiple self-storage units, and a parking area for the storage of recreational vehicles, campers, and boats. The applicant anticipates operation 7 days a week. The site will also include an outdoor wash and dump and security fencing and cameras. The proposed land use designation is listed in Appendix C. It's storage, commercial, and mobile home, boat, and trailer sales. Signage shall conform with Article 10 of the zoning ordinance. I'll just sort of define the two. Storage commercial is an enclosed storage facility of a commercial nature containing independent, fully enclosed bays, which are leased to persons exclusively for storage of their household goods or personal items. Definition of the second land use, mobile home, boat, and trailer sales, is use of a site for the sale, rental, or servicing of mobile homes, boats, and trailers. This use includes outdoor display of items for sale or rent and accessory retail sales of merchandise related to mobile homes, boats, and trailers. This use does not include a gas station. The subject parcel is the residue parcel of the Rita Fabry minor subdivision, which was recorded in 2019. The current lot is 116.02 acres and borders the Quail Ridge subdivision to the west and other rural zones to the south and east. Route 9 borders to the north. The parcel is currently undeveloped with a single structure/barn. In 2022, the BZA approved a conditional use permit for a federal firearms business in that existing barn. I'll run through the 8 criteria for reviewing a CUP just in the staff's recommendations. The proposed use is compatible with the goals of the adopted comprehensive plan. The subject parcel is shown as rural agriculture on the 2045 comprehensive plan, and it is not located within the Route 9 preferred growth area. Now, while the primary goal of the rural agriculture land use classification is to foster working agricultural operations and single-family residences, the plan supports allowing commercial uses in the rural zoning district that the county deems compatible via the conditional use permit process. In March 2017, the County Commission amended the zoning ordinance to modify the CUP process. As part of that text amendment, the County Commission amended Appendix C to allow most commercial land uses to process as a conditional use. Commercial storage is listed as a conditional use in that rural district. Number 2, the proposed use is compatible in intensity and scale with the existing and potential land uses on the adjoining and confronting properties and poses no threat to public health, safety, and welfare. The property is located off State Route 9, Veterans Memorial Highway. The property is surrounded primarily by residential and agricultural uses. The land use will include the construction of an office, multiple storage units, and a parking area for the storage of recreational vehicles, campers, and boats. The property is mostly undeveloped with the exception of a small barn on the eastern portion of the property currently used as the federal firearm business. Number 3, the proposed site development shall be such that the use will not hinder nor discourage the appropriate development and use of land adjacent land and buildings. The adjacent land to the west has been developed, though that hindrance of proposed use to those adjacent land and buildings may be subjective to those adjacent property owners. The proposed 8-acre site, as it appears in conjunction with land to the north, south, and east, will not hinder nor discourage the appropriate development and use of those adjacent lands as they belong to the same owner that borders Fabry Road. Neighborhood character and surrounding property value shall be safeguarded by requiring implementation of the landscape and buffer requirements found in Appendix B. As presented, a site plan is required for the proposed use. A concept plan, which is subject to a public workshop before the Planning Commission, is also required because the total square footage of the proposed building exceeds 5,000 square feet. As such, the project will be required to reflect compliance with current landscaping requirements. Number 5, commercial and industrial uses shall be in conformance with 8.9 of the ordinance. As part of the conditional use permit application, the applicant was informed of this criteria and shall comply with those standards. For properties in the rural and rural residential zoning districts, roadway adequacy shall be assessed by the comprehensive plan's highway road classification map. If a rural or rural residential parcel is not shown as commercial on the future land use guide or does not front on a principal arterial, minor arterial, or major collector road as identified in the comprehensive plan, the applicant shall submit trip generation data, including average daily and peak hour trips, for the BZA to review in conjunction with the highway problem areas map when determining roadway adequacy for the proposed use. Road frontage along Fabry Road and the lack of commercial land use status on the future land use guide prompts the submittal of trip generation data, which the applicant has provided. That's on pages 31 to 34 of the application. Historic Landmarks Commission's findings related to the proposed land use. This is number 7. The subject property does not contain any category 1 or 2 historic sites as defined by the zoning ordinance. Therefore, this criteria does not apply. And finally, number 8, any signs associated with the proposed conditional use shall be reviewed by the board in accordance with section 10.6. Signs accessory to a conditional use are subject to section 10.6 of the ordinance, which requires that all part of the application signage shall be addressed for review and consideration by the board at the required public meeting. The applicant represents that 2 signs associated with the conditional use permit will be proposed, one being a freestanding business sign and one being attached. With regard to 26./6/ZV for the variance, a subject parcel containing 116 acres is located in the rural zoning district and is designated on the future land use map as rural agriculture. The applicant intends to subdivide, and here it says 7, it's an 8-acre parcel in the northwest corner of the current 116 acres for the purpose of establishing a commercial self-storage business consisting of enclosed units and an outdoor area for RVs, boats, and trailers. The use will also involve the rental of U-Hauls, boats, and RVs. The variance request is twofold and applicable only to the proposed 8-acre parcel in the northwest corner to be subdivided off. The western property line to utilize existing vegetation within a required 75-foot site distance buffer in lieu of the requirements set forth in section 4.11 of the zoning ordinance. The applicant has stated in the application that additional vegetation would be planted where needed in order to meet the intent of the ordinance. The southern and eastern property lines, the request is to reduce the 75-foot site distance requirement to a 10-foot screen buffer as the neighborhood property, or as neighboring properties will belong to the same owner once the subdivision takes place.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Any questions for staff? I do have a question for you, staff. Is 2023 the newest comprehensive or the newest zoning map that we have?
I'm sorry. So we have a new zoning map that was just approved in January.
Okay. Okay. And is this map here, I mean, I would assume that's what it is now, that's accurate. What I'm asking is I looked at a zoning map of this property and it's not marked on here, but this road along this side is Bower Road, and these parcels that are marked green, and on this one, it looks like it reflects rural residential, and then also this one. But the zoning map that I saw, those were actually delineated as rural residential / future urban area or possible future urban area.
Yeah, and just to clarify that this is not a zoning map.
Okay.
This is the future land use map.
Okay. Well, future land, yeah. Yeah, right. But is it possible that this is not, like, I mean, is this what we have these days as it's only delineated as rural residential or?
Yeah, this map is the existing current approved land use map that's in the comprehensive plan.
Okay, and this is from 2024 as well, or from January of this year as well?
No, this was done in 2023. Oh, the land, yeah, okay, so this was also done recently in
Okay.
January.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions for the applicant or for staff? Okay, sir, go for it.
Good afternoon again. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify 2 things. This was a proposed for 7 acres, not 8. So that's what the survey was done for. I forget what
7, okay, all right.
7 acres, yes. if that's how the size of it, we don't know yet because we haven't got to the planning portion yet. But yeah, that's fine. Whether it's 8 or 9 acres or whatever the stormwater management size needs to be, but we weren't sure. So, okay. So that was one. The other one was the buffer, obviously 75 foot off of the west side. I just wanted to be clear as well is that I want to put in natural privacy screening on top of the existing tree line.
Be presented.
Yeah, no, I just want to.
Doesn't have any input.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was recorded that way, but okay. So yeah, I mean, just to start with that, that was one of the things was making sure that, you know, obviously the homeowners in Quail Ridge would not have to see this and pretty much at all once trees became to maturity. The intent was to use something like thuja greens or arborvitaes that, you know, would reach 30 to 50 feet in maturity. We would be planting already pretty decent sized 10 or 12 foot trees to, you know, kind of block off anything while, you know, the initial structures were put up. That way they didn't have, you know, 3 or 4 foot trees that would take, you know, 10, 15 years to grow to full maturity. They would grow at a much quicker rate. And that would go all the way up the west side of the property line and then kind of pivot then to the back of the proposed storage units. That way then people who were farther down the line in Quail Ridge wouldn't see the back end of it as well in the wintertime. So the full intent here is to obviously to where it's not seen in the summer, it's not seen in the winter. So I just wanted to make that clear because just the way it was read, I might have not been clear when I put in the application for that, but for the variance, for the land buffer. On as far as the south and east side of the property, obviously that's not going to affect anybody except for me. So I personally don't care about a 75-foot buffer and or any, you know, additional landscaping or privacy trees since that's going to be facing me on those sides of the property. I've requested a 10-foot setback for those just because that allows for more, you know, usable square footage for the facilities. If I have to, you know, off of the survey of 7 acres, let's say, if I have to then give up 75 feet on the back end and on the, you know, of the south end, and then also on the the east side, you know, that's a considerable amount of square footage that then I'm reduced to fall within that requirement.
Yeah, if I may, just jump in here real quick. We need to probably start off with the conditional use permit because the variance would be moot if the conditional use permit were not, you know, permitted. So we can start, yeah, with the conditional use permit and then move on to the variance.
Okay, although to be fair, some of the questions of the variance in particular along the western property line may have something to do with the requirements of the conditional use permit. Can you, the western property line,
Sure.
state clearly what it is you're looking for on the western property line? Because it says here you want to include existing vegetation in lieu of a required landscape buffer along the western property line, but you just said that you were going to plant trees. So what do you want to do there?
Sure. So I don't want to really tear down anything there because, you know, when a lot of projects go through, typically they might not have the vegetation already there, or there's some, they remove it, and then you're just replanting, quote, native trees or landscaping buffer per the requirements. I mean, there's already a natural, pretty thick vegetation line there, at least during the, you know, spring, summer, and fall. Obviously in the winter, when the foliage drops, it thins out. So the intent was to essentially leave pretty much the entire 75-foot buffer there of woods, and then add maybe right on that edge of that 75 feet was to add staggered like thuja greens for privacy screening all the way down the west side of the property line of the facility, not of the entire property line, because that would be like 1,600 feet or something like that. But just for the proposed 7-acre parcel on the west side.
So you want to use your existing vegetation as part of, not in lieu of the required landscape.
Correct,
buffer.
as part of, not in lieu. I still want to plant the privacy trees for the wintertime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a question on that as well. And when we do proceed with this, we will proceed with the CUP first.
Yes.
So thank you. I drove out there and I see the woods
Sure.
on the entire site. Where is the property line for the housing development? Does that just go to where the woods begins and the woods is entirely on your property?
I would say the majority of them, there should have been pretty much right where the sign was. I don't know if you saw the conditional
I
use.
did see the sign.
That's roughly the corner of the property
I
line.
saw a flag there too.
Right, yeah, that's where it was surveyed.
So some of the woods is in the housing development.
I think some of the woods that you see up front are in the, they're either owned by the West Virginia Division Highways, because that kind of front section there is a mix of various things. And then also the Quail Ridge
So you're not
stormwater management.
asking for a variance of 75 feet on the west side. You're just asking for it in the south and the east side.
Correct. I want to keep the original required 75-foot buffer for the
Okay.
homeowners
Nope,
on the
that
west side.
clears up. I was very glad that I went out there.
Where's
I can understand.
where's your entrance going to be? Like, what road's it going to, is it going to be off?
It's going to be off February Road. That's the only way. And
February, that's off of Short Road?
no, it's off Stratus Drive, I believe. At Coast Guard
Stratus Drive.
Drive turns into Stratus Drive, and then you come off onto February Road.
Okay, so you're essentially right before them, right before the development there.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, it does say that you're also going to have, I guess, is it a truck wash kind of thing? Like,
Yeah, so I mean, it's what it would be a single outdoor like kind of car wash, not 340 wash and lube or anything like that. It's just a single unit that would be outside. That essentially when people would come back with their RVs or boats, they'd have an area only for existing customers. It wouldn't be open to the public for those customers to wash their boat or car off, or RV when they came back from vacation or are going to. And then it would have a vacuum there as well, so they could vacuum it out. And then, it just makes it a little more convenient for them before they go on a trip or come back from a trip.
so you're essentially just giving them the water. They're going to bring their own, wash supplies.
I mean, I might put it as like, we could also have, those products available if they cared to purchase them. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I saw you, you intend on having this project on public water and sewer, correct?
I mean, initially, yes. I mean, if it was required, I mean, be prepared to tie into
Yeah. I
city
mean,
water and sewer for sure.
I saw that that it was represented that you were looking to do that at some. are you
In the
looking to do
future,
that?
the planning, the phased approach that we had. Again, I mean, just like anything, it's feasibility. We're going to start off just with storage units.
Yeah.
If the demand is there, we'll continue to expand and add on. If it's not, and it ends up being, just the initial kind of first phase, if you will, then we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I got you.
So, yeah.
And you're planning on having overhead lights or
I want to be clear on that. No street lights at all. These would be low light. That would be on the buildings themselves.
okay.
And ideally, the way we're designing, we're still going back and forth on, design. And again, we haven't got the planning phase yet, but, I've been doing that with the engineering group already to kind of get an idea of how it's all going to look. But the lights would be on the buildings themselves, every however many feet, I think it was like 50 feet or something like that, or whatever, that then would be facing downward. And so they're going to be max, 8 or 10 feet, depending on the height of the building, shining downward. And then low brightness. And then, maybe also motion detection, where they kind of really dim at night. And then if there's something that were to go by, it would, maybe that particular light would kind of, light up. So that way the cameras could see more as well. But then the cameras as well, I plan on having the, night vision and everything. So that way, we can track and have that for liability purposes, but also, safety and security of customers.
Okay.
On the lighting, then I want to go back to the buffer because we forgot about the north.
Yep.
How tall are the buildings roughly? I mean, it's
I mean,
a
the-
one-story building, correct?
yeah, they're going to be, I think 10 feet is the roof. So the doors are typically 7 or 8 foot tall.
Like a normal garage,
Yeah, they're the roll up. They're just,
Right.
yeah,
like a typical storage unit.
yeah,
There's one just down the road.
correct. Yeah. Now in the later phased approach, we might have taller ones to potentially accommodate inside storage for campers or RVs, but those would be kind of towards the back of the property.
And if I'm not mistaken, during the planning commission, going through all that planning, they address the lights with vigor.
Yeah.
So that will be addressed and you might have to do a light
Oh,
study.
of course, absolutely.
On the north side, do you plan on clearing all the way up to the road?
I
Or
would
frontage?
prefer not to. I'd like to have some of the natural landscape there, especially the evergreens, like the cedars and stuff that are there. But I also want the facility to be viewed from the highway, just because it's at the front there,
Right.
and easy for customers to kind of know where it's at. But other than that, and then the office building is intended to kind of be at that front too. So it would kind of be up on the hill, and would just be a small, like 250 square foot office building with, a window and a sign on the side. And, that's where you'd come in and
Okay.
you'd have the bathrooms there and everything.
Yeah, no, as I said, it helped going out there. You might want, I'm not here to give you advice,
Sure.
but you may want to save some of the trees, the evergreens that are out there.
Right.
They're beautiful. You could use
Absolutely.
them and just
Absolutely.
move them somewhere else.
Yep.
And just out of curiosity, you or your business personally plan on operating this, or are you going to build a facility and lease it to somebody else, or?
This is going to be family owned and operated by us. When you come in there, you'll see me or, my wife or my mom, running the business.
Okay, so it's not your intention to, rent these storage units for people to live in or,
No, absolutely not.
Okay, right on.
No.
Right on.
And the hours of operation as well. I mean, it's open, let's say every day because, it's self-storage. So people have the ability to come in and get their things, but it will be closed at night. I think we'll come up with an idea of like 10 o'clock at night to like 6 a.m. to where people don't have to worry about anything at night. And again, it'll be, so, the key codes or whatever wouldn't work. It'd be stipulated in the contract, the leasing contract when you're signing it that, this is going to be closed at 10 p.m., let's say to 6 a.m. If you do need to get something that's an emergency, you're going to have to call me, let's say, and then I would come out and if something was needed or whatever. So yeah, that's what we plan on the operational hours. Throughout the rest of the day, though, obviously, let's say, 6 a.m. to, 10 p.m., people can come in freely and access their belongings.
Yeah, and you plan on also having like your U-Haul part of the business. You plan on having that contained to the 7 to 8 acres that you're using?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
On the outdoor storage of RVs, fifth wheelers,
Mhm.
whatever, what is going to be your surface? It's going to be gravel, asphalt, concrete?
So for the front, let's just say, again, we're not 100% sure on the layout of everything, but we'd like to have, obviously, all the units themselves have to be on concrete slabs.
Right.
Like,
But just for the storage of,
yes, just for the actual,
Outside.
yeah. And then we'd like to have asphalt at least around those areas. And then in the back would be just a nice gravel subsurface, that way that saves on cost, because that would be considerable amount of, overhead for putting asphalt everywhere. So it would just be gravel. That way, then obviously you're not having, ruts in grass or anything like that over time. And, it'd still be, a subsurface that's capable of holding the, RVs or campers, boats, etc.
I was just wondering whether it would be pervious or impervious. So your asphalt technically is impervious. but
Right.
Being in the business for so long, it's actually very pervious.
Right.
And so, guess I'm good there.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Oh,
I've got a clarification question.
Yes, sir.
Elliot, number 4 in your application. There's 2 checks, 2 places for check marks. One of them is I'm aware of the landscaping buffer requirements and will adhere to them. The other one is I'm aware of the landscaping buffer requirements. However, I may seek a variance to modify them. Is that a mischeck, maybe? The one's checked is the top one.
Possibly. I think the only modification was like using the, native landscaping buffer, if you will, that's currently there. So maybe there was some confusion on that, but
Okay.
I don't have that actually in front of me, so I'd have to relook at that.
One other question on the storage units. Depending on what permits you have and depending on what you allow in your terms and conditions of storage, what are you going to do with that regarding any type of flammable, hazardous material? I don't know the storage business.
Sure.
I don't know if it's allowed or not allowed.
Sure.
There may already be rules there.
Right.
But
Yeah, no, we're seeking, legal counsel on some of that stuff, that we've, paid for essentially to what's best to put in a contract for that. Again, I would personally just like to have, just people's regular belongings. I would prefer not to have any flammable or chemical items. So that's a very good point. I think that's addressed from what we've kind of gotten an idea from typical contracts that we're kind of going through. But, being a family owned and operated business, right, we kind of want to add our own little, safety, precautions onto it as well. So again, we'll probably have something, a disclaimer in there that'll, prohibit the use of or storing of. Again, I mean, I don't know how it's not going to be, if somebody does do that, it could be, it's not going to be, I don't know how I would enforce it because I wouldn't be
well, it'd
allowed
have to be in your terms. And
Right.
I used to be in business, just retired. Thank you. And for any different types of material, not always hazardous, but gasoline
Sure.
or propane, there are proper ways that they must be stored.
Sure.
So being in the storage unit would not be allowed.
Right.
Is what I'm getting at. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm good until I think of another question.
Okay.
No, I have no questions.
Mr. Quinn, you got anything else to add?
No, sir, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good. And now we will open the public hearing. Have you guys decided, you want to do it one at a time, or do you want to have a representative take about 10 minutes and kind of? Well, you got my vote. Come on up. Sure, absolutely.
I got a few firm, is any board member of the property, and if so, are they? Is any board member?
You're gonna have to go to the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. I just figured I'd do this ahead of time. Is any board member affiliated with this application, and if so, have they recused themselves from the case? As a matter of record.
Hello. What I know today is you're speaking about Mr. Clutter, and he is not present as a sitting board member at this meeting.
Okay, I just wanted it for the record. And then
So-
the second thing is,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Just as a caveat before we get too off the rails here,
But-
like you make your presentation and we don't generally do it back and forth.
Yeah.
Like question and answer kind of thing.
That's fine. I just
mean,
wanted to clarify.
To your point though, yes, Mr. Clutter has recused himself, actually hasn't
Actually-
taken part in any of.
Actually, he hasn't
business
recused
today.
himself. He is absent from today's sitting on the board today.
Okay, that's
There's a
fine.
different process. I'll go through all that,
Okay.
but go ahead.
That's fine. I just want to clarify. And then the second thing is I just want to submit some recorded materials and supporting statements.
We're not allowed to accept it, but
Oh,
thank you.
okay.
Yeah,
No,
according
and
to
that's
the
fine.
written
And the
public
reason
policy.
for that is we want to listen to you. We don't have time to digest it, read it up here,
It was,
and then it would become part of a public record where we didn't even have the information.
that's fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
So
All right, then I can
if
just
you
do
need
the
an extra
presentation.
5 minutes to read it,
No,
go ahead.
I have, it's supporting material. I'm going to cover most of it here. It just,
Okay.
I submitted as an email to the case, so it's somewhere.
thank you.
Oh, yeah, I just want to make sure it's there. All right. Good evening. My name is Jacob Franklin. I live in the residential neighborhood directly adjacent to the property at 500 Feebre Road. Residents in our community, residents in our community are not principally opposed to development of this parcel. However, we are concerned about the specific placement of the proposed storage facility immediately along the residential boundary, while simultaneously requesting a significant reduction in the required landscape buffer. Although some of this appears to be discussed here and it's unclear still at this time, but under section 6.3 of the Jefferson County zoning ordinance, the board must determine whether the proposed conditional use is compatible with surrounding land uses. The current proposal places commercial self-storage buildings and RV parking directly behind existing homes. These uses inherently involve vehicle traffic, trailer maneuvering, security lighting, and periodic activity associated with storage access. At the same time, the applicant has intended an intention to seek a reduction of the required 75-foot residential landscape buffer to approximately 10 feet. That buffer exists specifically to mitigate the impacts of commercial uses on residential properties. Importantly, the requested variance appears to arise from the chosen placement of development on the parcel rather than any physical limitation of the property itself. In land use review, this is often referred to as self-created hardship, which typically does not justify a variance. In addition, portions of the property remain within the special flood hazard zone associated with Shaw Run, and the proposed layout proposes development immediately adjacent to that corridor. Several critical elements of the project, including stormwater management, traffic circulation, and operational mitigation, appear to be largely deferred to future planning stages rather than demonstrated in materials currently before the board. Approval of a conditional use permit based primarily on conceptual future planning rather than detailed demonstrated compliance would therefore be premature. Most importantly, a reasonable alternative configuration appears to exist on the same parcel that would relocate the development further from existing homes while preserving the required landscape buffer. If I can orient this correctly. You'll notice that in the original layout here, it's almost 50% included by the Shaw Run flood zone. And if you just shift it over, you'll still have access to Feebury Road. You won't be included by the Shaw Run flood zone, and you'll move away from the existing residential neighborhood. You guys can keep this, by the way, and it's also in materials that I emailed in. So.
That was in our packet.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see. This approach, often referred to in planning practice as least intrusive alternative sitting, would allow development of the parcel while significantly reducing impacts on adjacent residential properties. Residents are not asking the board to prevent development of this property. We are simply asking that all the project be designed in a way that respects the intent of the zoning ordinance in the existing residential neighborhood. For these reasons, residents respectfully request that the board deny the requested reduction or require submission of a revised site plan that maintains the required residential buffer and increases separation from existing homes. I also think it's important to note, because there was some discussion on this, as of the 2024 Jefferson County zoning map recorded February 24th, 2025, plat book 27, page 314, the area is zoned rural. And so the materials have language about commercial, industrial in there, which appears to be applicant intent, which may be incompatible with the actual zoning. So that's something that the board should consider. Thank you.
Thanks. Hold on just a second. Do you have any questions for our gentleman here?
No.
Yeah. You know, I do appreciate the presentation that you gave, and I've been on this board long enough that a lot of times I've seen a lot of people that come in and they're like, you know, we absolutely can't have this, and you know, the hysterics. You know, fundamentally, you know, are you willing to work with him to come up with, you know?
I personally am. I actually respect that he was in his description here very reasonable in his intent to be considerate of existing properties. I just think the placement is just danger mission close to the residential properties and the flood zone. I mean, there's a comment there about having diesel vehicles stored on gravel, right? And then you're going to have it right next to the Shaw Run River or whatever it's referred to as, specifically in the flood zone. I mean, you know, something leaks a little fuel, a little diesel, and now we're contaminating a waterway. It's just not a great placement. Other than that, I wouldn't care. Love his gun range.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm very familiar with the area. I don't live very far from that either. You know, I guess maybe across the bridge, but you guys have seen a lot of development in that area very recently. We've got a lot of houses going in there, you know?
Yeah, and I think houses are fine. Storage facility that close is a little bit, if we can.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And what was your name, sir?
Jacob Frank.
Okay. All right, next I have Dot Maxwell? Come on up, ma'am.
How do you do?
If you wouldn't mind using that one.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman and board members. I'm Dot Maxwell, and I'm the co-owner of 442 Moonstone Drive, and we are the first property that is off of, right beside his projected building. I am addressing the noise pollution remediation plus the sewer concerns. Noise pollution not only affects people, but countless wildlife species. It is invisible, but equally detrimental to both humans and the natural ecosystems. Cedar Hill Storage is asking for a variance to, number one, move the required 75-foot buffer to a mere 10 feet, which is less than me to you, and asking for a natural vegetation barrier, which could clearly end up being what already exists. And to say something about what the applicant had said, it is not that fully populated with trees. And yes, it does infringe upon our property because I have the trees on my property. The county zoning ordinance of 75 feet is so commercial businesses and properties do not impinge on the rights of residents to enjoy the privacy and enjoyment of their property. If the project is approved, we request that this buffer barrier requirement be enforced to limit noise and light emissions from having a negative effect on the abutting residential properties, and that the BZA make the following binding conditions. A minimum of 8-foot solid barrier, preferably concrete, with 2 rows of trees in front of the barrier as a buffer and to obscure the sight of the wall from our properties. This barrier is set back a medium of 75 feet, but preferably 150 feet. If any HVAC or generators are to be put on the property, that they have acoustic enclosures or silencers. Reasonable business hours, as he's already mentioned, would be nice, limited to at least 10 o'clock at night to avoid late night traffic and noise. A noise study should be done by a third-party licensed acoustical engineer and a report submitted to the county. As far as the sewer concerns, the proposed businesses stated they intend to install the RV, boat, and trailer storage site with the possibility of a U-Haul. There is to be a wash site and sewer dump. Homes that back up to the property are concerned about the washing of the vehicles and the potential for sewage odors from the dump site. All venting of the sewer tank should be installed in an area at least 100 feet from any residential dwelling. Since the land under the facility is considered karst soil, it does very little to impede the flow of contaminants like gas, oil, diesel, and potential sewage. These could end up tainting the local water level and creek, which is a source of water for the wildlife that runs through the property. To conclude, we are strongly urging that the BZA not approve the project.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for?
No, you're not allowed.
I was out there. You're the house at the, I want to call it the end near the cul-de-sac.
The very end, yes.
It's up.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sulsky?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I'm talking about, for myself and on behalf of my wife who's too sick to be here. And briefly, I just want to talk about fire hazards and setbacks, RV and camper living, which, it can be addressed, and coordination with Berkeley County. Regarding fire hazards and proper setbacks, 2 of the main factors exacerbating fires are high fuel load and dry conditions. The land behind Moonstone Drive is fallow. It's full of fine grasses, shrubs, fallen trees, twigs, limbs. Even excluding the wooded areas, it's patchy back there. It's not all woods. All of which provides fuel for fire. Further, for the last 2 years, 2024 and 2025, Eastern Panhandle has suffered through drought conditions. One of the proposed uses for the land behind Moonstone Drive is parking and storage of RVs, campers, and boats, all of which include fuel. In the case of RVs and campers, propane, which you discussed, which can explode if exposed to a spark or a lit cigarette, especially if the tanks or the fittings are damaged or loose. Further, even in the case of an intact tank, heat from a fire, whether due to accident or arson, could cause a tank to explode. So, and I think you are also concerned about proper storage of propane. Therefore, we oppose conditional use for the RVs, campers, and boats. Additionally, we note that the defensible space home ignition zone is typically 100 feet minimum. We refer to the zoning board to a list of sources of fire safety provided in our email to the board on March 30th. We therefore request that the buffer zone between the business and our property line, again, where our houses are backed right up, should the cup be allowed to be extend to 100 feet. And we're concerned not only loss of property, but potential loss of life. Regarding the RVs and campers, we note it's common in West Virginia to live in RVs and campers, not generally opposed to that. But according to the continued use permit, the business will have 24-hour keypad access. So that's actually in the CUP. I know there's some question about that. There's no indication that somebody will be on the site to monitor all 24 hours. And we have a concern that, some people might be living in their RVs and campers, although that's clearly not the intent. And so there's no indication how that situation be addressed. And regarding coordination with Berkeley County, as mentioned, Shaw Run flows through Jefferson County into Berkeley County. So therefore, any leaking oil, gasoline, any other fluids would flow into Berkeley County. So question, has Berkeley County been contacted, their zoning board? Also note all traffic has to go through Berkeley County to get to Fabry Lone Road. So, have they considered that? And the water and sewer, I guess the Berkeley County is the only place that does supply it. So again, we are wondering if you're also coordinating with Berkeley County. And just something I thought, it's only an 8-acre lot, but as you point out, it's 116 acres. My experience from other places I've lived, it'll just keep continuing. So there is a concern, you put all that asphalt, it'll all go in a run. Is that something we have to worry about, that it'll be chopped up 8 acres at a time until the whole 116 acres is full? You have any questions or?
Any questions?
No, we'll answer them.
Sir,
Question
Oh.
for the speaker. Is your development on water and sewer, well and septic, combination thereof? What is it?
So we get all our homes are on the Berkeley County, we get sewer and water. So,
Thank you.
In Jefferson, it's mostly wells and septic. So there was some question as to, is he going to have the sewer as well? But we are all on the Berkeley County sewer and water.
Thank you.
could you please state your name for the record?
Yeah, Martin Solsky.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Couch?
I know she's going to ask this. So for the record, it's Wendy Couch. Thank you. Thank you very much this afternoon. So I'm here, the grave concern about the light pollution that is involved. I am one of the properties that will directly back to this proposed development. We're moderate to high-end homes. For many of us, this is our forever home. What's of most concern is this is on the back end of our properties, literally on the place where we have our bedrooms, our patios. If you have a fenced-in backyard, that'd be where you'd put your children. It is that close. I have a letter here that says that they're proposing 10 foot on the west-hand side of the development. That would be 10 foot from my back property line. That's inconsistent with some of the other things that we heard here today. So my concerns are, what I would want is 150 foot setback, the enhanced vegetation that he spoke of. We would like an independent analysis for the lighting. While he said low-level lighting, I'd like to make sure that it not exceed 3,000 Kelvin, which is a lower intensity, less blue, more of a yellow light. We want professional design of the outdoor lighting system. We want the lighting to shine downward and not outward. We have concern about lighting from vehicles moving around overnight. Our letter that we received in the discussion here says that he's proposing a 24-hour, and that's what his plan was, for a 24-hour. So my concern is with the bedrooms, lights coming in the middle of the night. We would like to make sure that we keep our lights low at night. He mentioned some low light constantly there. Because this is a rural area, we would want the lights to go off, not be at a low intensity, and then come on when somebody does arrive. We would want annual compliance. There's some way to get compliance for you as the board, that if you ask for something, you know you're getting what you requested. So maybe an annual report from him that goes to you, and we would like to have access to it. I'm having concerns. My letter says that the time of operation was going to be 24/7 in his proposal, and we're hearing something different today. The letter says that he's requesting a 10-foot setback without any vegetation on the west end, which is the area that is next to our properties. And then we heard something different today, and I'm really glad that he's open to the vegetation. That's massive, but it's just different than what I have heard. The setback, I would like it to be 150 foot. It should normally be under, I believe under zoning, 75 foot. What I have in the letter is 10 foot. I'm confused as to where that is going. The letter that I have literally says that there will be sewer. And yet what we heard today is that plan is unknown. I just think there are a lot of unknowns associated with this. I'm also concerned if everybody got an opportunity to see the signage that this meeting was going to take place. There is a sign that is up. It said March 26th. The meeting was deferred. It was not changed. In addition, the road says it is a dead-end road, private access only. So people can't drive down there to see the sign for this meeting. So it just wasn't signage that this meeting was taking place. You have any questions?
Board members?
Not at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I think he said none,
Oh,
but thank you, ma'am. We do appreciate it. Mr. Rexroth? Miss Rexroth? You just want to start by stating your name on it for the record.
Okay, I'm Cindy Rexroth, and we have the property at 428, which is one up from the end of the cul-de-sac. Our property actually has the septic system on it, it's in our yard. So, but one of my concerns is, one, the plans do not seem to be in order. We are seeing differences between what we were sent, what the plan said online, and what we're hearing today. There was a part where it said it was going to be reduced for the variance part, and no, we don't know about fencing. It's just not good. Like, it went down to like 15 feet, like right in my backyard. When he talks about the vegetation, it's not there and it's elevated. Our houses sit below this land. So all that elevation, if those lights are pointing downwards, it's right into our yard. So when I look out, I'm looking at a slope and it's going to be above us coming down. They want to pave the whole 7 or 8 acres. That's not clear. I don't know. I just don't think these plans are very clear. It's hard to make a decision when it's a little wishy-washy right now. So, so we're worried about the elevation being up high, the lights, where the camera is going to be pointed. How are you going to control the access? The water runoff, we sit down level from them. And if they're just going to provide a hose for the RV washing, I'm not sure how that works, but how tall are the buildings going to be? Paving all 7 or 8 acres. That's what the paperwork did say, that you were going to pave the entire 7. It did say that. Once the plans are in place, do we have a chance to come back and talk about it? Because when he's asked questions, he said they don't know. They're still working with plans. So some concerns are, what if things change drastically? Are we going to have a chance to come back and talk about it? So it's kind of where I am. But it's mostly that elevation part. It's right down on top of us. And are you going to come through my yard to get to your septic? Because that's where that's where the septic is for the development, and it's Berkeley. So. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions?
Oh, yeah, we'll answer a lot of these after he gets to answer a lot of them. And
Okay.
we'll come back around
All right.
to everything you.
And the
mentioned.
fencing is kind of, I'm unclear on the fencing. Is there going to be a fence? Because it said it'll be enclosed in a fence. But when we look through the paperwork, it doesn't say anything about having a fence, only about natural vegetation. And it is not that thick. There are trees, and even in the summer, when the trees are all grown in, if you go 75 feet, but on the plans, it shows there's a part that comes in and it's like 12 or 15 feet. And that's just not okay, so.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Mr. Kelsey, please.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name's Richard Kelsey. All I'm going to do is offer up a lot of what the residents have already stated. The plans, I've submitted plans to the commission before, not this one, but for building up stairs. The plans that I had to provide to them were far more significant than the plans that have been provided for this today that we've seen. I'd like to ask or talk a little bit about the environmental impacts. I know just from my history that good intentions only go so far. You're going to be placing vehicles that are leaking fluids that are considered hazardous materials by everybody, the EPA, the Department of Environmental Protection for West Virginia, and this is going to be long-term. And the type of ground that we have out there, these are going to seep down through, as you said, the porous asphalt. If he puts down gravel, it's even going to go through quicker and it's going to leach into the groundwater, and that's going to have a significant impact on everybody, both in Berkeley County and Jefferson County. Contaminating groundwater is never a good thing. The amount of grading that's going to have to be done to facilitate this site is significant. You're talking about a large hill that runs down into our backyards. One error in that grading is going to flood out the backyards of everybody's residents on Moonstone Drive. And who's going to pay for that when that happens? Who's going to pay for the regrading? Who's going to pay for the damage that's done to our properties? Also, when you punch in Waze or in Google Maps how to get to this location that he's proposing, it runs them through our private housing development where we pay for those roads.
It does.
It does. It absolutely
That's
does.
not how you get there, though.
But that is how you get there if you don't know the area. You may know the area. You're from.
No, I didn't. I just knew not to go into your development, but
Well,
it did show that.
Well, then you're a respectful person. Most of the people aren't. They won't. Maybe they are respectful. I shouldn't judge. But the whole thing is Waze takes you there, Google takes you there, and it goes through the roads that we pay for. And that's going to increase our costs for our homeowners association to maintain those roads. I will tell you personally, just the other day, not from a U-Haul from Mr. Cletter's area, but a U-Haul, a small one, just a 12-footer, was coming down and almost ran me off the road because, like all rural roads in West Virginia, they're very narrow. And we park on the side of our roads because there are roads, there are houses. These are going to be people driving large trucks like 26-foot U-Hauls. And if you've never driven one, and the first time you do, it's difficult. It's very difficult. Our children play in those roads because there are roads, because it's our community. These people that aren't part of our community aren't going to have the respect and drive 15 miles per hour like all of these people in here do, because it's their children. We know their children. The people that he's going to bring into our community unintentionally, not blaming him for it. I don't think he would like that. But I also don't think that he would build this same thing in his backyard or in property right behind his house. I would ask the board, would you want this behind your homes? If you had moved all the way out into Kearneysville, sacrificing all the infrastructure that's in Charlestown and in Martinsburg, and you deliberately moved out there for peace and quiet, would you want this built in your backyard? I think the answer would be no, you would not. And the impacts far outweigh the benefit to the county because this will reduce our property values. And the county will lose taxes related to that. And this is not hiring, but he said himself, it's a family-owned business. So he's not hiring anybody to add it, to take away from the unemployment of the community. This is a fully self-initiated activity that doesn't benefit the county and only hurts the residents that are next to it. So with that, I thank you guys for your time and thank you for having the hearing.
Any questions for the presenter?
No. Thank you.
Mr. Walberry?
Close enough. For the record, John Wahlberg, 396 Moonstone.
Sorry.
Like Mark, right? So my goal is to I'm the last one. I'm going to try to keep it to 3 minutes, is to kind of try to tie things together. So thank you all the people of our community for being here today. Again, my name is John Wahlberg. I'm here representing not only myself, but many of the residents in the Quail Ridge community who could not be here due to work and family obligations. These people are not the only ones who are concerned about this development. As written, I think we have some work to do. The variance, I will talk about two things really quick. Nature request number 2, which is the variance. We feel this is a direct violation of the Jefferson County Zoning and Land Development Ordinance. Section 4.1 requires a 75-foot landscape buffer. What is proposed reduction to a 10-foot unscreened strip lying on existing vegetation that does not meet ordinance standards. Under section 8.9, commercial uses must be incompatible with surrounding properties. Removing this required buffering eliminates key protections for adjacent residential areas and creates some concerns. Additionally, there's insufficient risk assessment under section 8.9 on how the requirements for noise, odor, fire hazards, as so eloquently pointed out, are going to be met. We also have concerns about how this is going to be developed. Is there going to be use of any explosive devices, dynamite, anything like that to clear the structure? That has a significant impact on kind of our thought processes. Under section 6.3, the board's asked to ensure proper integration into the community with the required buffers. That standard and that safety risk assessment component just can't be met. So as written, we have concerns with the proposed section of part 2. Again, for this reason, we respectfully ask the board to deny nature of request number 2 in full. Turning to nature of request number 1, the conditional use permit. As written, we feel this proposal is not compatible with the rural residential character of Quail Ridge community. It introduces increased traffic, noise, intensity that our infrastructure and our community were not designed to support. Additional risks have also been identified by our residents in additional correspondence to this board. Specifically, section 6.3 requires compatibility with roadways, adequacy, protection of the public welfare. We feel our roads cannot safely support the increased commercial traffic of these heavy vehicles. This additional intensity and scale, again, is just incompatible with our community. Section 8.9 further requires commercial uses to be properly located to minimize impacts. This commercial business, which is really 4 businesses in one, we feel doesn't meet that intent. Finally, I want to emphasize the community voice. We've formally submitted 106 signatures opposing this project. Residents and property owners of Quail Ridge have all signed that petition. These petitions have been submitted for the inclusion of the official record, and they reflect clear and organized opposition from the community for the proposal as it is written. Again, the message is simple. This is not the right development in the right place. In closing, respectfully ask the board to deny the request number 2 and deny request number 1 as written, and ask that he resubmits the proposal that has the potential to meet the needs of the Quail Ridge community. Again, this is not about opposing growth. It's about upholding the ordinance, protecting the community, and ensuring responsible development. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Board members? Thank you, Mr. Wahlberg. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Elliot, you're written on here, but you will have a chance to rebut. Did you have somebody else that wanted to speak for it, or? Okay, that's all that's on our sign-in sheet. Is there anybody else that didn't get a chance to sign up that wants to speak for or against it? Okay, if you want to, go ahead. So you got 3 minutes there.
I just want to address one thing. My name is Carl Maxwell. I'm at 442 Moonstone. He mentioned the sewer and hooking to public sewer, but I've spoken to both Berkeley County and Jefferson County sewer departments, and there are no public sewer lines that run on Phoebe Road. So if he was looking to hook up to that, he's got to acquire a letter of availability from Berkeley County, and he will have to pay for a sewer line extension from where it ends in our neighborhood out Phoebe Road to the property. So I just wanted to make him aware of that. If he intends to put in an in-ground system, an in-ground septic tank, he hasn't made any application for that. And because this is Cart's property, they won't approve a normal septic system. It would have to be a standalone tank that it would require being pumped out once a month, because you can't have a drain field. So that's all I have to add. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, sir. Okay.
That all the
Yeah,
public input?
that's it. The public hearing is closed.
I'd just like to say one thing. I appreciate all your input. It was very detailed. It was organized. And the way you spoke today was very refreshing. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I would have to echo his sentiments because it's going a little crazy in here sometimes before. So thank you for your demeanor, and I hope that we can adequately address the concerns that you have brought forward. Mr. Clutter, if you want to come back up, and would you like to add anything, sir?
No. Yes. If you don't.
Yeah.
Some clarity.
Please, I think there's about 15 or 20 items.
Yeah, I have a few. No, I also respect everyone's opinion. I mean, I get it. So I guess we'll start here with the flood zone. That was, I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, this has been an ongoing process now for almost now 2.5 years just to get to this point. And it's cost us over $10,000 just to do, hydrology study, survey, get the LOMA for the flood zone. So that's just to get here to essentially saying, hey, is this even feasible? Can it be done? So that's something that theoretically, like, we could lose that money on, which is fine. I mean, that's the risk you take. But I just wanted to make that clear. The flood zone was a very long portion of this. It was probably over a year. Of course, you have to wait on the federal government, and due to the shutdowns and everything, that delayed a lot of things for quite some time on this. But the West Virginia has adopted the HEC-RAS, which the one gentleman showed on the map. There's originally the property was under, I think it was like 32 acres, technically a flood zone or something. That has now been drastically reduced to about 11 since West Virginia's adopted the HEC-RAS study that was done, I think, back in 2000 and I think it was 22 or something along those lines. Previously, then it had been done decades before. So we had to get through that first, obviously, before we could even come to this meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that. So now the proposed storage units are outside of the flood zone. They will not be in a flood zone. And obviously as well regarding stormwater management, again, and council can keep me honest on this, we have to do this before we can go to the planning commission. which is where all of the stormwater management is then required by the county to say, hey, this is what's required. I can't go. I would love to have that for everybody here, and I'd love to have the actual plan on what it's going to look like, but I simply cannot do that due to the process. I mean, unless I'm going to spend what, 50, 60, $70,000 just to have something made up with stormwater management that not even has been discussed with the county, that could drastically change and essentially make me redo the entire thing over again. So that's why the process is the way that it is, at least that how I've come to determine it. So again, I'd love to have all that information. I also believe that this is going to be, correct me if I'm wrong again, council, if this goes and when this goes to planning, this will be, there'll be another public hearing regarding stormwater management, back and forth with engineering, myself, et cetera, and then a public hearing as well to, accommodate any of their concerns on additional setbacks, lighting requirements, all those things, which I'm totally fine with. I'm open to. I obviously want it to be, again, being a family-owned and operated business. I mean, I've lived here almost my entire life. Once again, my wife's been here for generations. We are part of this community. I obviously, don't want to have any kind of negative, or impact on the neighbors. I don't want anyone to be disgruntled. But at the same time, I believe I am following within the requirements that the county has for this, and obviously going through every process in order to facilitate this. There's a 75-foot buffer required. Again, I want to make it clear, I'm keeping that on the west side, which borders everyone's houses. I want that. I'm not against going back a little bit farther, but I think some of the requests are just, it changes everything. And I understand that that's kind of the intent here is, why can't you put it somewhere else? Well, respectfully, I mean, I'm still abiding by the 75-foot setback. The only thing I'm asking for in the variance is on the south side and the east side of the property, which will only affect me. It's not going to affect them. It's only going to affect me based on square footage size. That's it. I will still, if needed, I'll put up additional landscaping, privacy tree buffer on the south end. There'd be no reason to have it on the east end. Again, none of those houses can see the east end of the property in this case from this project. It's far-fetched to say they'd really even say much of the west end as well. So with that, I wanted to cover the variance concerns. Sewer concerns. I already have permission from Berkeley County Water and Sewer to tie in eventually, if that's the route. The initial request for this, for phase one, is that the office building, I'm required to have an office building that has basically 2 bathrooms in it. That's like, I think, a county requirement for a commercial entity. Again, council, keep me honest. With that being said, that would require a well and septic. Or, the gentleman said, if that's the case, I haven't heard any of that regarding I can't have a drain field. Again, we haven't got to the health inspection yet. That's not, this was first for feasibility, essentially, before we move on with all the other requirements that the county has. But again, let's just say well and septic, that's just to accommodate the water and sewer for the office building. Again, which will really just be used for some customers that are coming throughout the day, and then obviously office staff, which would be, myself, let's say. Let's see, we had, the wash site. I understand the concerns there. I'm actually working with the county, and I will continue to work with the county on what the proper requirements are going to be for the wash site. Do I need to use certain products, or maybe I don't allow people to come in with their own products? Maybe that's prohibited, and I have something that's biodegradable and environmentally friendly to minimize that. As far as oil and gasoline leaking from vehicles, I mean, I have farm equipment right now that you could argue that does that. I mean, again, I understand, but I think in some cases we're looking at some things here that I just think they are a concern, I'm more than willing to work with, accommodating those and minimizing that. None of these people here know me. If they did, they'd know I think I am so conservative on land use and animals and native trees and watersheds. I am not a hunter because I'm not, against hunting. I just would rather value seeing the animals themselves in their natural habitat versus hunting them year round. In fact, I have had many poachers on our property, many people who've been on our property over the last couple of years that we've owned it, who have essentially been hunting illegally. And I have, sought legal action against them because of those things that they're doing, trapping, tree stands, hunting, et cetera. So again, I just, from a wildlife perspective, I don't have, obviously, I'm not going to put much time into that. I am all for the environment and doing everything listed here in an environmentally friendly way, no question. Fire hazards, again, I'm for, limiting any kind of fuel, downed wood. More than happy to clean up or cut down any dead trees that are, on the property line or within that buffer or kind of around that general vicinity to reduce said, fire hazards. One of the benefits of Berkeley County Water and Sewer, let's say, tying into them, would be having a fire hydrant there. And that would, and possibly even accommodating to add into a sprinkler system. I mean, I would not be essentially opposed to that. That's something that I've thought about as well. Again, safety of customers, but also adjacent property owners. Again, not living in RVs and things like that on the property, that's going to be prohibited. Part of the reason why the cameras will be there will be to possibly see if there are going to be individuals who are actually there in past hours, which then I would seek, law enforcement action to go out there and do what was ever required. Cameras regarding, their privacy, 100%. No cameras will be pointed in the direction of their homes. Another thing is again, once we finalize the actual layouts, the layouts will require, not just me. I mean, I want to meet as many of their demands as possible, but it will, essentially be organized in a way where the cameras will not be facing their homes and, they won't have to worry about any kind of light, pollution, and they won't have to worry about, the cameras obviously for privacy. I'm totally fine with, 3000 Kelvin, which would, I believe that's like a kind of a darker yellow, totally fine with that. Downward facing on the sides of the buildings, totally fine. There was a comment here about private access only and then not being able to see the sign. I had nowhere else to post it on the property. If I posted it at the end of the road, again, council, I'm not sure. I mean, that I don't own that property, at February, right at the intersection of February and Stratus. So I don't know how a sign would have worked there. I was, keep me honest, I was required to put it on the property. So that was the closest area. As far as private access, that road is private access only for our property. When the new highway went through, that was done by the previous landowners because that property would have been landlocked. I don't necessarily mind the people who've been walking on the road, but unfortunately, there have been people who have gone up to the very end of it. They've trespassed. They've been caught drinking there, doing drugs, things like that. I've had multiple times where I've called law enforcement to come out and, investigate when cars have been parked there to see if anyone was on the property, things like that. So I've had my own issues with people going up and down. I've had ATVs going up there and trying to go on the property. I've had a lot of different things, right, that I've had to deal with. So I reached out to West Virginia Division of Highways. They told me that that road is private access only. Essentially, I'm the only one that's able to use it to access the property. So unfortunately, a few bad apples have kind of ruined it for everybody because I really don't want anyone walking there anymore, and I don't want any vehicles up there anymore, especially at the very end. There's no reason to be up there. That's my private, driveway that I've been working on, for my home that we plan on putting there, and, for the barn and everything, so I can get equipment in and out, hay, things like that. Another thing then, plan for the property. I mean, here's the thing. we want to have a family owned and operated business. I know somebody mentioned that that's not going to benefit anyone else because we're not going to hire employees. That's not necessarily true. If we expand, I'm not going to be able to do it all by myself. So there is a potential that we could have a couple of employees, full-time or part-time, to meet, the demand that we have. Eventually, I don't plan on, let's say, doing that all the time anyway. So I might have to hire somebody regardless. So, that would be then providing an income for somebody in this community as well. But the plan for the property is having this business. That would be our livelihood and possibly some other people's as well. We would continue to restore the initial farmland. It used to be a beef cattle ranch. I'd like to one day continue to restore that at some point. But again, a lot of plans, a lot of things that I got to do one step after another. So, and that's not as important as obviously this one is. But the rest of the land would be agricultural, and it would then allow for us to have our house there because obviously I would need to be there to be able to accommodate, the business and also, if we had animals to accommodate those as well. Let's see. Environmental impacts on the site itself, of course, those are some, risks. We're going to be using a general contractor, obviously, to do that. Who's going to be licensed and bonded, insured. So, it wouldn't be their first rodeo. I'm sure they've had very similar, projects that they've done that they've obviously had to meet very strenuous requirements for. So, that'll all be accounted for in the planning and engineering. Somebody said something about the neighborhood and you're coming in through the neighborhood. You'd be coming in through their neighborhood to get there. I just put the address in my phone. From here, the only available option I get is off of Coast Guard Drive into Stratus Drive and then onto February Road. If I put something in like Opequon Lane, I get 3 options, 2 of which are not going through their neighborhood. So I do understand that that's a concern. I'm more than willing to pay for signage at the front, both fronts of their neighborhoods, entrances of their neighborhoods, one off Short Road, I believe, and the other one off Stratus Drive to basically indicate, hey, you've gone too far or whatever your HOA might request or require to minimize, obviously, people going through there. I'm totally fine with that. Let's see. Somebody mentioned blasting dynamite or some kind of explosives. Again, there is rock out there, but it seems pretty easy to remove from some of the work that I've done on my personal driveway with a very small, hammer on a mini excavator. A larger excavator with a larger hammer will go right through it. And also, again, we don't know yet the layout of it on whether we're going to need to cut in and lower the property height or whether we're going to need to actually bring in fill dirt to kind of level it out. We don't know yet because we have to get to that point. So, again, if dynamite is used, there's neighborhoods all the time that are being built around here. They have to use dynamite, obviously, to blast. There are a lot of restrictions with that. And, insurance and a lot of things that are covered essentially by the general contractor who's doing that work. So I just want to make that clear. I hope that's not the case because then that's more expensive as well. So, let's see. I need to confirm this, but the last time I checked, when I did talk about for the road use, February Road, I am pretty certain, again, that doesn't mean anything here because I don't have proof, but Stratus Drive and Coast Guard Drive, I was told are built with a 6-foot asphalt with a 9-inch base of stone underneath. That is like Flowing Springs Road, like a lot of other roads that you have tractor trailers on, other very heavy, vehicles as well. Again, people we're not going to have 100 RVs going in and out every single day. A lot of times these people are having them sit. Yeah, there's some maybe people that are going in and out consistently, but I'm fine to look into a road study. And I think February Road again it was built by the state. It's owned and maintained by the state. The state has standards. I'm pretty sure that road has 6-inch of asphalt with at least a 9-inch base, which I think is pretty sure that's a standard. We'll have to double check on that. But again, we need to do a traffic feasibility study. I provided some estimates, but as long as the road can handle, I don't see why not. So The road, I think originally too, was built to potentially facilitate a subdivision that was there before we purchased the property. We obviously had nothing to do with that. So that road was built not only to prevent landlocking of the property when the highway went through, but also there was plans, I think, that the previous owners had potentially to sell to a developer, of which, again, the property was for sale for about 40 days or so. The only other people who were considering buying it was a developer, one of which was the ones who had built majority of their homes, JGB, along with some other developers. And fortunately, we were able to purchase the property. So, let's see. Again, and then I think the last one, I think I already discussed that, but I already have permission for Berkeley County Water and Sewer. And yes, that would come at my expense to tie in the power lines that are there, the very large transmission lines. That is owned by a different individual. And then there's also it's kind of, again, it's really weird. West Virginia Division of Highways owns a portion of that as well because of February Road. Obviously, there's some setbacks off of that. So it's a combination of both of them, accepting, hey, yeah, you can go through and dig a trench and then put down the water and sewer lines that then would tie into existing infrastructure. So I'm fully aware of that. So I hope that covered at least the ones that I wrote down. If somebody has a question that I didn't answer, I'm more than happy to answer it right now.
I think you got them.
Yeah,
I
I do
wrote 'em all down
appreciate
too.
that. Yeah, I do appreciate that. The only questions I really have for you, one, do you, aside from RVs or maybe a vehicle and sort of, like, do you plan on, having diesel pumps there or a mass amount of fuel or selling propane
No,
or?
no. I mean, there's a few facilities. I think a good example, let's say, is Rockwell Storage off of, Route 9. It's
Yeah.
the road facing, it's right next to a neighborhood. I don't know when that was built. I know that's been here for a very long time. Obviously fell into different zoning ordinance and things like that. But very similar to that, self-storage and then boats, campers, RVs, and, there wouldn't be a pump there that they could fill up their fuel tank or anything like that. That would be prohibited. They got to go to a gas station, or anything like that. Again, this is simply just for a lot of the homes that are going in. People need space all the time. Everyone, a lot of people use storage units or have used storage units at least once, I would assume, in their life. When they're moving or, kid moves in after college again, they got to put some stuff in storage, et cetera. Right. So, due to the area growing at the rapid rate that it is, this is, I believe this is going to be supporting some of that demand, as well as a lot of these new neighborhoods going in are very tightly packed housing. HOAs are not, they typically don't permit in most cases, at least from what I've heard from these newer neighborhoods, any kind of boats, campers, RVs, because there's simply no place to put them. So this is helping facilitate some other homeowners who would be able to have, their stuff stored here, for longer times, so they could then still enjoy their family recreational trips on the weekends, things like that.
Okay, it sounded like you're at least beginning to get an understanding of the process. We have to start here. We're not looking at anything more than the concept that you're asking, but you'll have to go to the planning commission, which will have a public hearing to have a concept plan, which is where you're going to, have your site plan, your landscaping requirements,
Absolutely.
your approvals from the health department, which would include your water and sewer, your floodplain management. What you're asking for right now is whether you can begin going forward to answer their questions.
Correct.
Are you amenable to, you want to maximize your investment, they want to maximize their investment.
Sure.
So, I mean, are you amenable to working with them, with their concerns,
Of course, I'm not against it. I mean, again, they're neighbors. In regards to, I think there was another question too, because it's on the topic. The reason why I want it there, is one, it falls within the 75-foot buffer requirement. And two, it's just the way the geography of the land is. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it would be significantly more site work than what it already is, from what I've been told, consulting with the general contractor. When you continue to go up February Road, it has drop-offs that are significant unless you kind of really get up towards the driveway area. You know, I've been currently working on the driveway. So that would be, it's just, the stream does kind of ruin. I would be totally fine if the stream wasn't there to move it back a little bit more, but the stream is kind of goes through pretty much the middle of the property almost, and it does kind of make a divide, in which, in this case, I either have to put it where I'm proposing it, or I have to go completely on the other side, and that's just not, again, respectfully, it's our property. I believe we're following, the requirements that we have here, the 75-foot setback. So that's just, and it's the road frontage. I mean, granted, there's a highway right there. And I mean, so I'm trying to maximize the, the business model, and then obviously the real estate frontage to where people know where it's at. They can see it off the highway. I mean, again, you go down Route 9 from Martinsburg to Berryville, right? And you can see that, it's a combination of commercial businesses, maybe see a neighborhood here or there, farmland. So, that being said, I don't see this being out of the ordinary.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I have one. What's to dictate? You say you want to be open from 6 to 10.
Sure.
If you backed up against my property, that'd be probably my main concern.
Sure.
That and some lighting and all that kind of stuff that you're going to have to deal with.
Sure.
Somewhere along the line, I get it. But what dictates your hours of operation once something is approved? Once we say, go with this, we agree that it's needed by the community and there's a market, and why not? What dictates hours of operation? And what's the norm out there in your industry?
I would say 9 to 10 p.m. at night is when they would close, typically. Again, I think that's subjective. I don't actually know, counsel. I mean, I would testify to that if that's, needs here, or
Just to be clear, there's no counsel over here.
Okay. Well, you guys know more than I do on that, so.
There are conditions of approval
Okay.
that the board would make.
Sure.
And
This board or the planning?
this board, if they were to approve the CUP, there would be conditions of that approval, and one of those conditions would be limited hours of operation.
I'm fine with that. I mean, 10 o'clock at night, open at, 6 or 7 a.m. I'd say sun up to sundown, but obviously wintertime, that would, be, 5 p.m., so, most people then aren't even off work to go get stuff, but so, I'm fine with having an hour, hours of operation. Again, when it was written 24/7, 365, maybe that wasn't clear on the application, but, it's open 24, let's say, or not 24 hours, but 7 days a week, 365 a year for people to access.
Right.
Hours of operation, though, I'm totally fine with having that on the record for a certain period of time. No question.
Okay, thank you.
I think you did a very good job answering all the questions and concerns.
Ditto.
One of the things, I've been in the engineering, construction, and environmental business for 40 years, just retired. So I'm very familiar with this process. And like you said in the beginning, these are just concept plans.
Sure.
Well, you're in the beginning stages.
Yep.
All the questions that were asked here are going to be dictated by the Planning Commission. That's where they will address the lighting, the signage, karst, noise. Department of Highway will handle that. You've got some letters in here from the Department of Highway.
Sure.
The Health Department will handle all the sewer issues, water issues. The flood, you even have letters from FEMA on flood in here. So a lot of most of the questions and concerns, the Planning Commission addresses. We're here to look at, is the use allowed according to the comprehensive plan?
Sure.
That our approval really starts the beginning of this long, drawn out process.
Yes.
That you're going to have to go through.
Yep.
Blasting's controlled, karst is controlled. your cut to fills on your site grading.
Sure.
All the water concerns are going to be addressed by your civil engineer to where all that water has to go to a stormwater management pond. Once again, addressed by the civil engineer. So one thing that I think you made clear to us, whether it was clear in writing or not, is that on the west side, the side that butts the development, you are not touching 75 feet of the existing trees. And you said you would put a line of large trees after that.
Correct, like on the 75.
On the 75-foot marker, but
you
you've
know,
got
yeah.
75 feet of woods, and then you're going to put an additional line of trees, which the planning commission wouldn't make you do.
Sure.
So the only 10-foot variance you're asking for is to the south and the east, and the adjoining property is your own.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on the actual case? Because I do want.
Mr. Quinn, do you have any questions?
No, but for the record, Mr. Chair, I'd like you to go through the conditions
Yes.
of the conditional use process.
Yes, sir. We're making our way through that is what
Okay.
next here. Do you have any?
David, you're telling me the 10-foot setback is on the east side and the south side,
Which
that it
is,
butts his properties,
yeah.
not the west side where the houses are. I mean, I had so many maps and all to look at
I
in
wrote it
there.
down as he was saying. Here's their property, 75 there.
Okay,
Here,
okay.
there.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, well, we can, we can jump into this as far, is the proposed use compatible with the goals of the adopt?
I got one other thing that was mentioned and nobody addressed.
Go for it.
Okay, one thing that was mentioned right at the top was, is Mr. Clutter a member of the BZA? The answer is yes. He is absent from sitting on the board today. So I've looked into.
With notification, might I add.
Yeah, he notifies us. He wouldn't be part of any of the decisions today, and he hasn't been. So we look at process, procedure, and policy. The first thing I look at is our county zoning ordinance. And under Article 6, Section 6.1C, public hearing, it states, the board shall hold a hearing within 45 days of the date of appeal is received in the Office of Planning and Zoning. At the hearing, any party may appear and be heard in person or by agent or attorney. I consider the word any to include any person, a resident of Jefferson County. Then I go a little further. One of the things that I do when I look at things is I question myself. Am I missing something? I may be. I'm not speaking as an attorney. I'm just trying to do all the research I can. So then I go to the West Virginia Code, which in the zoning aspect, we use Section 8A often because it pertains to the BZA. But there was another section I found, it was Chapter 6B, Public Officers and Employees, Ethics, Conflicts of Interest, and Financial D, whatever that means, but conflicts of interest. So it's a very short section. There are only 5 parts to it. And it talks about public officials and it talks about conflicts of interest. In paragraph C, it says the legislature finds that the state government and its many public bodies and local governments have many part-time public officials and public employees serving in elected and appointed capacities. And that certain conflicts of interest are inherent in part-time service and do not, in every instance, disqualify a public official or public employee from the responsibility of voting or deciding a matter. I'll stop there. Mr. Clutter is not involved in the decision or the voting of this matter. However, when such a conflict becomes personal to a particular public official or public employee,
You're out of order, sir. You're out of order. Please continue.
such person should seek to be excused from voting, and that's what has happened today. Or they could recuse themselves. However, you have to be sitting on the board in order to recuse yourself. And then there are rules and policies to follow for recusal. Or otherwise relieved from the obligation of acting as a public representative charged with deciding or acting on a matter. Mr. Kletter has relieved himself from that obligation today. Just wanted to make that part of the public record. So this is our state code and our county ordinance.
Okay. You are out of order, sir. The public hearing is closed. Thank you. Okay, now to the merits of the case. Is the proposed use compatible with the goal of the adopted comprehensive plan? In my opinion, it is. The plan supports allowing commercial uses in the rural zoning district. I think that the area in which it's going is actually relatively developed. Right across the bridge, one right next to them is a major highway, right across the bridge.
If I could say something, Mr. Clutter, you could sit back down in the audience if you'd like. Done with your comment.
Yeah, right across the bridge are two existing government data centers. There's a sheet store right there, former grocery store. And plenty of houses going in. I think that it's right across the bridge from the preferred growth area.
Yeah, it's as staff stated, the comprehensive plan supports it. Commercial storage is listed as a conditional use in rural zoning. So,
the proposed plan, in my opinion, is compatible in scale and intensity with the existing and potential land uses on the adjoining confronting properties. We're talking about a storage facility. I mean, there may be some busy days and some not so busy days, but it's a pretty, well, very nice, of course, and pretty large housing development behind there. There is traffic that goes through there. I don't think that this is gonna cause any kind of public health concern, safety or welfare issue.
yeah, the traffic for the housing development is much greater than this use would be.
Yeah, as far as the proposed site development shall be such that the use will not hinder or discourage appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings. As we just met, the housing development is already constructed. And there's a lot of construction going on a half a mile down the road. I believe that this actually is a much smaller use than what the land could be. Which I have a special place in my heart. I appreciate that.
Well, the Coast Guard facility and the IRS computing facility is within a half mile of this site. It's not like there aren't commercial uses adjacent.
This is a low intensity use.
Yes, sir. The neighborhood character and surrounding property values shall be safeguarded by requiring the implementation of a landscape buffer found in Appendix B in Section 4.11 of this ordinance. There has been a lot of question and concern about that, some ambiguity in it. And in my opinion, I think that if the variance request were to be considered, I think what Mr. Kletter is actually asking for and how it would read and what he would be required to do, should we approve, I think would be a variance from Section 4.11 in Appendix B to allow a modified landscape buffer that includes existing vegetation as part of the required landscaping buffer along the western property line.
Yeah, we could put conditions on that.
Yeah, so
and-
you would still have the 75 feet.
Plus the trees.
Because really the way that that would work, if we did not allow the existing vegetation, what would happen is he would have to push all those trees over and then he would have
replant
to
them.
put, yeah, he would have to stagger tree, bush, which aren't going to be mature. So it'd honestly be worse
Yeah,
off for the
they'd
neighborhood.
knock it down
character.
and then plant 6 to 10 foot trees, which would take even longer to grow. So the existing buffer and the added trees is actually, I believe, more than what the planning commission would require.
Now, that is a separate issue and would have to be voted on separately. But that's,
Well, maybe mute if this doesn't pass.
or maybe not. Yeah, it may be moot. The commercial and industrial use, well, the language is commercial and industrial use. He is not proposing an industrial use. He's looking for a commercial use. Noise, haven't heard of anything that's inherently going to cause noise. You know, it's
And he still has to abide by the noise ordinance no matter what. So
yeah, this is true.
just like anywhere, if a noise is a disturbance, you call the sheriff and they come out and measure it and deal with it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you are aggrieved, by all means, you use law enforcement. However, I don't think the use that he's asking for,
it won't go over 60.
You know, makes a lot. Noise, lights. I think that what he's proposed here, which has to be approved by the planning commission, which will have another public hearing. You know, I think what he's represented here today won't cause a detrimental effect for them.
Yeah, just what I've known in the past, I've had to deal with this professionally. Measuring noise for an HVAC, the outdoor unit generally is between 75 and 85 dBs. So just to understand the level of noise that things around you create.
You know, he will have to have approvals and you know, whatever fire suppression is by building code, you know, that's what you would have to adhere to unless you decide to do something further than that. The Baker Heights Fire Department is actually fairly close to you guys. That's a blessing. I didn't hear any evidence of any kind of intrusive odors that would come from that.
No, there was mention of fuel spills, but if you had a retail shopping center, all the cars that come in and out of there and park and go back and forth, if you have a fuel spill, that's something that you have to deal with. You have to clean it up, and you'd call the Department of Environment if it was a major spill. But most of these vehicles are roadworthy. They're only being parked there temporarily when they're not being used, so they are registered and they go through inspections. So I think that's covered in other areas.
Yeah,
on that.
which
He's not
that's-
going to sell propane. He's not going to sell fuel. So I think everything's covered by different codes and ordinances and legal policies outside of.
Yeah, which Jefferson County does also have a salvage yard ordinance, so it's not going to be, you know, junk all around his property. His property did not have anything close with a problem for the highway problem areas map. We heard no evidence from the Historical Landmarks Commission that there was a problem. I didn't see anything in the packet, nor have we heard testimony today for that. And then any signs that you put up will have to be in accordance with the zoning ordinance and in particular section 10.6. You did proffer to work with the homeowners about signage.
And it has to go through permitting.
Yeah, you know, about signage to keep
Everything else.
individuals off their property or off their private roads.
Yeah, a lot of these concerns are really dealt with other agencies and departments within the county.
I think that for what this board is evaluating, he meets the standard. That's just my opinion.
I agree, and it's early on. This approval does not mean that will be built. Like I said, there's a lot of things that have to be done after this, but there's an opportunity for it to continue.
The concept's good
The concept.
and the use is compatible.
Mr. Quinn, do you have anything to add?
No, sir.
Okay. Then do I have a motion to approve request number one, a request for a conditional use permit to establish a self-storage business that includes U-Haul camper boat rentals on 8 acres of a 116.02 acres parcel. The land including the construction of an office, multiple self-storage units, and a parking area for the storage of recreational vehicles, campers, and boats, with a operation of 7 days a week, with business hours up to 10 PM. With the site including an outdoor wash and dumping area and security fencing and cameras, with a land use designation of storage, commercial, and mobile home boat trailer sales, with the stipulation that the signage shall conform with Article 10 of the zoning ordinance, and that the applicant is bound by his testimony. It is at Pine Run Ridge LLC. Elliott Clutter is the applicant. It's at 500 February Road in Carneysville. The project size is 8 acres of 106, just over 116 acres in the rural zoning district, with the parcel ID noted in the agenda.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Second.
Board members, could I get clarification on the testimony component, the bound by his testimony?
Yes.
During the presentation, he agreed to downward facing lights using 3000 Kelvin, and that the security cameras would not be facing any residents. Is that part of your understanding of what bound by the testimony includes?
He is bound by his testimony.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
just
what he
verifying.
testified
Thank
to.
you.
75-foot buffer against the residential area. I think he agreed to that.
We haven't gotten to that one yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Valid question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, you can get, your conditional use permit is approved. Now, do I have a motion to approve request number 2, a variance from section 4.11 in appendix B to allow a modified landscape buffer that includes existing vegetation as part of the required landscape buffer along the western property line for clarity along Quail Ridge, and to allow a 10-foot wide unscreened buffer in lieu of the 75-foot distance requirement and planted landscape buffer along the proposed eastern and southern property lines, which are adjacent to the property owner's property. The applicant is Elliott Clutter. The parcel is Pine Run Ranch LLC. It's at 500 February Road in Carneysville, with the parcel ID noted in the agenda. 8-acre project size, just over 116 acres in the rural zoning district. This testimony is already covered. This.
So moved.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
Just.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It is so granted. Thank you. Okay. For our next item on the agenda, the rules of procedure, there's still have to be a little bit of tweaking for that, so we will amend that, or we will table that until the next meeting. Mr. Zoning Administrator, do you have a report for us?
Yes. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 14th, 2026, which is being postponed from the April 23rd, 2026 regular scheduled date. The deadline for submission was Friday, March 20th. Your zoning and certificate activity is in your package. And just a quick update, staff is finalizing amendments to the subdivision regs and zoning ordinance as it relates to solar text with the intent to present to the Planning Commission at the April meeting. Staff is also, will be requesting the Planning Commission at the April meeting to give direction to pursue proposed text amendments, adding 2 new land uses, athletic field complex and sportsplex. And the County Commission has reappointed Mr. Quinn and Mr. Wiggin to another term on the BZA.
Awesome, thank you. Legal counsel is not with us today. They generally was kind enough to give it, well, some other things in the packet. Is there any further business to come before the BZA? We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.